AGM, when was it now? Whenever,
Oh,
it
it's
was now.
January.
And people were talking about it there again. It was just like incredible it was. And I remember asking you something, Sheila, about how do you go about getting people? And you said, I just go and just sort of like, I just go out and talk to people about it.
Yeah. Went everywhere with the flyers and things. Barbershops, you name it, women's group, church groups, because it's vital for women to be part of men's health. You know, they are the drivers, really.
Yes.
So it is vital to be in touch with women.
Yeah. That's a question I had in mind absolutely later, which is, you know, men's health. So often as men, we sort of like have a bit of a sort of like head in the sand approach, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, it's not happening. If we don't address it, then it will go away until it's far too late, sort of thing there. And it's actually interesting. We were talking about it at the Man Talk on Friday. The reverse. How would that be if it was sort of like men supporting women? And with a very different sort of like conversation there.
Is it downstairs already?
You know, obviously during the course of this conversation, hopefully we'll have lots of things to talk about.
Okay, so I can testify to, you know, how Sheila approaches people. Because, I mean, I was at a funeral, and all I had was a little pin, prostate cancer pin.
Yeah.
And Sheila, I've known her for, you know, ages, but she approached me and said, we're looking to start up this group. Would I be interested? And of course, I thought, group? Never heard anything about, you know, prostate cancer. Haven't been discussed or whatever before. And I thought, okay, when's it happening? And she says, well, you know, she's gathering people together to come together and, you know, get people talking and so forth. And, yeah, that was back in 22, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So in 22.
In like the summer, wasn't it?
It's summer, and then a few months later, you know, she took my details, you know, email details, pinged me and said, look, we're starting this group at this point, and you're welcome to come and join along. What was your sort
of like, you said you had a pin?
Yeah.
Prostate cancer.
Prostate cancer pin. So it's that little man. So to speak. I haven't got one on me.
Prostate Cancer UK.
UK.
Yeah, so I asked him, why, can I ask you why you're wearing that pin?
Yeah.
You know, because it could be personal or in support of. So he then said, didn't you, that he's been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So then we just had a little conversation, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
And you know, for you to get involved, because clearly you had prostate cancer, to go from having prostate cancer then to becoming quite involved in a group which is talking about prostate cancer, was there a change in sort of like, you know, I don't know, positions or way in which you looked at things? Well,
almost definitely. I mean, my dad, he had prostate cancer, passed away. No one talked about it, you know. So years he had prostate cancer. No one talked about it, and that kind of pushed me to, you know, have the checks done at a certain point. And as you mentioned, I was pushed by my partner to actually do them checks.
Yes.
From that, actually being part of the group, it sort of opened my eyes, gave me so much knowledge. You know, the testimony of all the team members is so true. You know, there's nothing like hearing what people have been through or going through to know exactly what's happening. Because initially I was part of what they call active surveillance. So my prostate cancer was at a very low level. And it meant that I could have treatment, you know, such as radiotherapy or, you know, surgery at that point, but they preferred me to just be, you know, observed. And so, you know, they kept giving me checks and so forth. But being part of the team sort of grew me into knowing a lot more about prostate cancer.
Thanks for that, Errol. I mean, just we do this all the time, which is introducing the podcast there, Trims and Talks. It's all about health. Today we're talking about prostate cancer, physical health there. Thanks very much, Errol, there. I know as we were walking up, we were talking, and
Earl.
Earl. So that must be my hearing. I've got Johanna on as well.
Otherwise, you end up Errol. I'll give you a new name.
You'll be stopping me talking soon because you can't get people's names.
It's true. No. It's true.
Beresford, you were saying that you've also got prostate cancer.
I started with 2006. I was having problem passing water. And my wife keeps saying to me, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And I keep ignoring it, you know. And then I go to work. By the time I finish work, 5 o'clock, come home, doctor surgery closed. So she was just prompting me and she decided.
We can find excuses, can't we?
Yeah, we always find excuses.
It's closed.
Yeah, and then she says, all right, you're not going to work this morning. You're going to the doctor. And she came with me. She was asking all the questions. I was just sitting down there observing.
Yeah.
And she was telling the doctor what's best, what's this, what's that, what can they do about it, and what's that. And then the doctor says, well, for what I am going to tell you, talk it over with the family first. Your children, you know. So I went home and talked it over with my children. Well, told me that I've had prostate cancer. So I went home. When I go home and talk it over with the children, they start crying because their mom was sick. Yeah. And they start crying and down the place and say, oh, daddy's gonna die, and you know, because once they hear prostate cancer, you're gonna die. So anyhow, eventually, I told the doctor, okay, what's best for me? And he says, we could treat it, we could give you an operation and take the prostate out. So they did that. But at the time, if I had known about prostate cancer those times, I didn't hear anything about prostate cancer, right? So I just had to just do what the doctor told me. And he says, well, have the operation. That would be best for you. So I did that.
So is it no?
No.
I'm getting very scared about names now. No.
That's right. What about
Have
you?
you got prostate cancer as well? What's
Yes.
your involvement with the group?
Yeah, well, unlike Earl, you know, I was approached by Sheila.
We've all got it now, haven't we?
We've all got it now. Sketch it.
I think it must be the TV cameras doing it to us.
Yeah, as I said, I was approached by Sheila at a funeral, of course, yeah.
Also,
Yeah, also, yeah.
so
yeah.
basically she frequents funerals.
Oh, well, she must be, yeah. No, she,
Is that where you get your
no, what it
customers
is,
from?
she recruits clients from funerals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that's how I got involved with the group actually, and then you know from there on, then obviously, you know we started to communicate with each other and see what's each other's problems are and what have you. But before that, when I first knew I had it, it was me, it was my partner really, was saying, you know, have you done this, have you done that? I says, no. He says, okay then, I'll take you to see the GP. But when I went at first when I went to the GP, he was telling me all sorts, and I couldn't understand what he was saying, obviously. And then she came, and then with her have a medical background, she was asking all these questions and that. And, you know, she's saying, well, has he or hasn't he got it? You know what I mean? Because he wouldn't like sort of come out with it, you know what I mean? So obviously, at the end, she got it out of him, you know, and then from there on, you know, I started going to the hospital for treatment and what have you, and, you know, I got the operation and recovered miraculously, obviously, and I've been all right since.
Yeah. I mean, a theme which has come out just from the three of you is, you know, the women in your lives.
Yes.
Exactly,
Have
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
prompters. Johanna, Sheila, you know, your involvement in the project, is that a common thing then?
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
It is a common theme because we had how this group came together. We came to form this group. I'll just give you a little bit of history. We had it was some research done by Dr. Chi Wang. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've heard
Dr.
of her.
Chichi one, yeah.
Yeah, and so we had 3 focus groups talking to. We wanted to hear what we called PPI, public and patient involvement. Yeah, and so we wanted to hear people's stories. And the first group that we had, the first focus group that we had, we were overwhelmed because nobody knew so many people would attend. And we had it at the day centre at Savaka, and it was practical that out. And-
I think I went to that event.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was full, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was.
And I think it was full because people knew that there was going to be doctors,
Yes.
GPs, and there was an oncologist there, you know, experts that they wanted to ask questions that they were unable to ask, or they'd gone to GPs and was getting refusals and saying, oh, you're not at risk, you don't need it, and you're too young, and all these sorts of things. And yeah, and so we had 3 focus groups, and on the final one, I'd met Johanna at an event, and I was telling you what I was doing, being you know, a research link worker on that particular study with Chi and Caroline and Kate, and you were at Hallam at the time, and Johanna didn't know about it, and she says, oh, I'll find out and phone up. Anyway, she came to the last focus group, which was more about the future and what we could do and planning ahead and things like that. David said to me, I think it would be a good idea to have a support group, you know, get black men to come together. And then he said, oh, there's a nurse in one of the groups down there, and she's also interested in it, in forming and being part and supporting the idea of a support group. And that was, the last focus group was in the July, and then obviously it was holiday and stuff like that. So we didn't actually start till, was it the beginning of October? We had a meeting, the beginning of
Yes, I think.
October, and Noel came, but then he was off to Jamaica for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came to the first meeting, yeah. So from then on, you know, we've been meeting, providing peer support, and all the team have been involved in research.
Yeah.
You know, people have invited them to take part in research that they're doing, and
So is your background medical?
yeah,
Like, so what you?
I'm a retired nurse.
You're a retired nurse then?
Oh,
Like, Noel, you were talking
I
there.
just have to get that out there.
Retired.
Retired.
I like that word as well.
It's a word,
Yes.
but some days I don't feel like I am because I'm here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question about was that, you know, the female bit, women being pinnacle to men's health, and a lot of women came up with that, saying they made their partners go, and they went with you know, information, questions they wanted to ask. And one man actually said, if it wasn't for my wife, I would not be here today, because she practically dragged me to the GP. So he went to the GP, had the test, then when it came back and he came to the hospital, she had all the questions written. She'd read up all about it, and she was asking. He says he wouldn't be able to say to someone, this is what happened on the visit, because it was just blank. Yeah. And she went home and she got all the family together and had a little gathering and a barbecue and told everyone and said, we need to get it out there, we need the support, you need the support, and we as a family, we've got to deal with this, you know, together.
Because I know, I mean, the initial conversation I had, actually even hearing that 1 in 4 black men have prostate cancer, or a potential to have prostate cancer, it was with Chichi. I can't remember how we ended up having lunch at South Kitchen, and were they chopping it up? Yeah. Oh, South Kitchen is awesome.
Over there.
It's awesome. It's because it's awesome. Yeah. No, it's because it's a quaint little place.
I know.
It's awesome.
We'll all have to go.
I've not been.
South Street Kitchen, in Park Hill.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh, I have been.
Okay.
It's like sort of like it's got this vegan sort of kind of thing going on and stuff, and it's kind of cool. And you're overlooking the city, so
Yeah.
I'm selling it.
I was just gonna say, Lungali, sell it.
You're West Coast
You
on as
got
well,
commission
Stacey. You
on
really have got
this.
that
No,
kitchen
but this is the
vibe
thing.
going on.
I think for me the conversation was this 1 in 4, and I was intrigued in it because first of all, I mean, it's like I wasn't aware. People, the part of the world where I come from, people don't really talk about prostate cancer and stuff. I think anything that is classed as sort of like of a sexual nature, well, at least it's deemed that way.
Or personal.
Personal.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's the word. Personal.
Personal, yeah.
Yeah.
Personal
So-
issues, yeah.
Personal issue.
they don't-
No one talks about it. And there's a community we don't, because it's the same thing, like I'm currently doing a documentary around menopause. And it's been the same thing. When I ask people, when is the first time anyone ever spoke about that issue which you are currently dealing with? You know, do you remember as a young man, you know, when you were growing up, any of the older men telling you about prostate cancer?
But do you think it's because a lot of us are embarrassed to speak about it and express themselves?
I think it's a question for us, isn't it? Because, I mean, I think it's the fact that actually 3 of you here present, the women in your lives are basically taking you to the GP.
taking the lead, yeah.
Sheila said then that actually that's very, very common
Yeah,
there.
yeah, but I've been saying that you cannot hide it from them, can you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What
Regardless
well,
of-
people do hide, don't they? I mean, you can hide things, or you can make excuses and all the other bits like that why you don't do something. And I always remember reading something.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you know, there's some things that they pick up on. I mean, like, I was getting up out of bed like 3-4 times for the night, which before I never used to. You know what I mean? So she's saying, are you all right? Are you okay? And I keep saying, yeah, I'm all right. There's nothing wrong with me. And she
But
says,
I think a
and
lot
she's
of
saying,
women
well,
have
we'll
got
see about that.
mothering instinct, wouldn't you say, Johanna, where your body language and your actions are different,
Yeah,
and you can pick up on those things.
Yeah.
I would say, though, that there are some things that don't show any signs.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you say you hide things, it's sometimes you just haven't got a clue. You know, prostate cancer, you know,
Yeah, but-
you don't know that
Yeah,
you've
but
got it.
you yourself, your own body, there's always a sign to say, well, you know,
Yeah.
something's not right.
Okay, but
You know what I mean?
I've got diabetes.
Mhm.
So a lot of things which they sort of refer to as having diabetes is some of the things that they say refers to as prostate cancer.
Symptoms, yeah.
So the symptoms are very similar.
Mhm.
So what is it? You know,
Yeah.
so that's the thing, prostate cancer. And that's why I think we all here
Yeah.
pushing for,
Yeah.
you know, as our website says, getting people to sort of get tested, you know, especially if, you know, they're black, they're 45, or if they've got a history of people with
Yeah.
cancer, whether it's male or female, to get them tested
Yeah.
even earlier. And I think that's what our, you know, theme is for our group,
Yeah.
support group.
Joanne, can I just ask you? So, Sheila said that she got, I think it was the third focus group. What attracted you or brought you into the group as such then?
So my background is practice nursing, and I would be the nurse in the GP surgery that would be giving the hormone injection that men are commonly given as part of their treatment for prostate cancer. And that was always quite a big part of the, not a big part, but it was a substantial part of the work that we do. You know, you always had the odd patient, you know, most days somebody's coming for their Prostate injection. And I worked at different surgeries and noticed that when I moved to a surgery in a different part of town that was very different sort of demographic, that we didn't have any of these injections in the cupboard. And I asked, why? Where do you keep them? Where are they? And they said, oh, we don't have that many men on them. And this was completely different to every other surgery that I'd worked in, where we all had a big list and a whole shelf filled with these
So what you're
injections.
saying then, that some parts of the city, more men are likely to present with the need to be treated than other parts of the city?
Well, this was the question that I asked. Why is that different? And looking at the, and that's just what sparked my interest, basically. So I learned that for the surgery that I was now working at, most of our patients died 8 years younger than in the other part of town. So with prostate cancer typically being a disease of men over the age of 65, that you could argue or you could assume that maybe the patients just weren't living long enough to develop prostate cancer because they're dying younger. Also the ethnicity of the patients. We had a third of our patients were from the Pakistani community. Prostate cancer, your risk of prostate cancer if you're an Asian man is 1 in 12. So it's lower. So you're going to see less men with prostate cancer in a surgery that's made up of those people. And then we also had a third of our patients were from the Roma Slovak community, and their life expectancy is even less because they are typically diagnosed with more long-term conditions at a much younger age. The health inequalities there are really stark.
But for black men, it's 1 in 8, isn't it?
1 in
No,
4.
One in 4.
For
So 1 in 4, but 1 in
Yeah.
8 die.
No,
No.
1 in 12.
1 in 12
12
die. So
die.
1 in 4.
Yeah.
Right, so 1 in 4, which is that's what the project is.
Yeah.
1 in
1 in
4.
4.
So
So
what?
if you
So
think
just
it's
say to us what 1 in 4 is.
25%,
Yeah.
That's
you know what I mean?
25%, yeah.
25%, if you say it like that,
Yeah.
people are got a 25% risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a lot,
It is a very high percentage.
you know.
It is a lot.
It's a very high risk.
So the black men are twice as likely to be diagnosed, but also 2.5 times more likely to die of it.
Yeah.
Because they're getting diagnosed at a later stage when their treatment options are far more limited and the cancer is at more of an advanced stage.
There was a sort of a question I think you were posing there, Noel, which was, why is it, for instance, that women are sort of supporting us and we're not necessarily being on the front foot on this? I mean, is that a part of it, or is it more than that? And I know there were some questions which were raised. Every time I've been to an event there's been some really very pertinent questions beyond this. But I just wanted just to go on this bit about we as men presenting and addressing the issues which we've got. We know our bodies,
Yeah.
and yet somehow we seem to be sort of like in denial. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Before even broach that I mean, you talking about statistics, you were talking about, like you're saying that certain communities, I mean, like the Slovak, I mean, probably because they will have long-term other long-term conditions that they probably kind of die earlier. I'm just trying to figure out if there is any, I won't say empirical data pertaining to other communities in terms of how they, if any men are in the forefront of, kind of prostate cancer in other communities, is this always women that are more or less, kind of the ones conscious about men's health? Because it'll be interesting to know if other communities have to deal with the same thing,
So I've got some background thoughts to this, and you just have to, I'm sure you guys can relate to it. So when my father, was around, all he was for that was going to work and caring for the family, making sure that the family was okay. And I'll be honest, I never saw him have a day off.
Yeah.
He just kept going. So whether he had a cold or anything, whatever, he would just go to work because he just thought that's what his purpose was, to make sure that he could go to work, make sure we were cared for, the family. And I think it is a nurturing thing of women to actually, look after health-wise, because, if you actually, at work and whatever, and, openly females will talk more about, certain things, whereas men are just... It's not that we don't want to talk about it, it's just we don't.
In our own experiences then, Earl, I mean, there's 5 men here.
Yeah.
I mean, do you talk about, your physical health with other men? Do you talk about health with other men?
Yes.
Or is it something which has changed as a result of the group?
Since,
I think it depends. It
Since the
depends.
group has changed, right? Since we came together, I have done a program at church. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I had a program at church telling all the men to get themselves checked out, right? Because I had leaflets that the doctor gave me, and I was giving them leaflets and telling them to have themselves checked out, because this is vital, right?
But that's it,
Don't
but-
wait while it's too late.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is also there's always been. I remember actually coming to the church also and talking about other issues that we as a community, especially as black men, we don't really prepare the young ones
Exactly.
pertaining to how the things that they will have to deal with. I'm not saying that just young boys. I'm just saying our interaction with our children is either as disciplinarians. We talk, because me and you, Donald, we talk about just the basic issues like, when was the last time you told your son you loved him, or hugged him and kissed him? The things that sometimes we don't really think are pertinent enough. Because for us, we don't have we can't relate to anything. That's why, to Elle's point, I remember your dad. He was a strong guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a man's man. So it's like, it's those men that you don't really see any, they are kryptonite. That sense
But
of
it's
like,
also, isn't
they
it?
don't talk here.
As if you think about your friends,
Yeah.
so you talk about your own contemporaries. You meet up with a friend you haven't seen for a while, you're good friends, no one of them for years. Will you then sit and talk with them about, what, I've got this, I've got that?
Right.
Because I had a friend who passed away a couple of years back, and he had cancer. And I remember when he told me about it there, and it was the first time anyone I'd known had cancer. And it's absolutely, and it's the first time anyone really I knew as a man who had actually told me about, the body, their body, and how their body was failing themselves.
I'll say he was the only guy who I knew
Yes.
that basically spoke. Because I remember when Mark told me also, I was like, really? In my head, I didn't
never
really
had it.
vocalize, but he was he spoke to it like, it's something you should know.
Yeah, but I
You
mean,
know?
as men, whoever, You don't go around telling other people about your personal problems, do you?
Well, this is
that's
part
not
of
the
it,
point.
isn't it?
But if you're,
I
if you're
can
among,
give you a scenario, whereas, you know, the launch night,
Yes.
so I'm there talking,
Yeah.
yeah. My nephew is there and he said, Uncle, I never knew you had prostate cancer. And, you know, I spoke to him, I said, well, you know, your granddad did. He said, yeah. But, you know, he didn't know. And I'll be honest, I did tell the family, but I didn't tell the younger ones because something, I don't know, it's not that I was ashamed or anything, it was just something I just didn't let out.
Yeah.
But now I'm happy to talk about that
Yes.
subject
Yeah.
to people. I'm not sure if I talk about other areas. So again, it's, you know, we do keep things to
But I'm
ourselves.
also
but
Go on,
what
sorry.
it is, I mean, like, I try to tell my lads about cancer and all that, and then one of them says to me, Dad, why are we having a conversation? I'm only 20, you know what I mean? So obviously they don't want to know, you know, not at that age.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, I mean, yeah, they don't want to know, but actually something will be registered. And it's actually the way of talking and actually giving people the opportunity to actually learn to talk about these things. I never talked to my dad about anything which is of that sort of intimate nature. And I don't think I've really spoken to my son in that way. And I feel as if I should.
Yeah, but they don't want to know.
He doesn't want to know, but actually sometimes I'm thinking to myself, my son's 33, so it's not like he's a kid anymore. But I've never spoken to him about those things about myself. I had surgery recently, it was hernia surgery, and I didn't really speak to him about that. You know, I just simply said, I'm going off to hospital, going to have surgery. Didn't say to him I was scared. Never said to him I was scared, you know.
But were you though, Don?
Yeah, I was scared.
Yeah.
And the first person I spoke to and said that I was scared was actually Andrew at Fades.
Oh, yes.
And I'll go to get my hair cut there. And he said, how are you doing, Donald? I said, I'm good. I've just had surgery there. He said, how you feel about it? He said, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd actually openly admitted to myself I was scared, because I just don't know how to do that scared bit to other men. And it's something which I think, I don't know about you, but I'm really getting really aware of the fact that actually I can't do that open vulnerability bit, because I just feel like it feels a bit odd.
But we're talking about that recently, about that whole masculinity thing that we do as men. You know, like when you're amongst other men and you just want to puff up your chest, you know, I'm make you seem like you was a strong man, you know.
We do, don't we?
Yeah, it's hard. Let me tell you, it's not sustainable. Let me tell you, I go to
It's
the
tiring.
gym and I do all that kind of stuff, and I can hold my own. But I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You get to that point where you're like, so what? I mean, it's like, that's why for me, I struggle. And because I have been one of those who didn't grow around with a father who I could talk about stuff. So like when the men around me who are older and I view in the kind of sense, also have like issues that somehow they don't really want to openly discuss stuff that could be of benefit to me. That's what I take issue with. Because for me, I talk to my boys about literally everything, from my mental health to my physical health to all that kind of stuff. I talk to my boys simply because I know. I mean, my father passed at his early 40s.
Really?
You see what I'm saying? Early 40s. Had I been prepared to handle that? You see what I'm saying? So for me, it's like when I turned 40, I had this sense of dread that, you know, anytime now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then at that time in the Guinness Book of Records, it said that the mortality rate for a Zimbabwean female was 38.
Really?
Yeah, at that time. You know, because we had gone through that whole AIDS epidemic and stuff, you know what I'm saying? So for me, but for my father, it was a myriad of other things. But again, from a medical point of view, we had not been privy to any of his medical history. So it's that. How do you deal with that, though?
And I think where you say your sons didn't want to know, I think they don't realise the significance of it yet.
Yes.
Because they're
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, obviously,
but
you know.
actually it might come in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the point at which you can request a test without symptoms, it may, we're hoping that it may change to be reduced for high risk men. So if you're black and you've got a family history, that you may be able to request a test
Yeah.
at the age of 45 rather than 50.
But you see,
But unless you know your family history, you can't.
You can't.
You're not
You can't prepare yourself
eligible.
for that.
No,
So
you
you
can't.
have to pass it on. You have to pass on
Yeah.
that knowledge, and even if they don't realise how important that might be yet. I think
And,
But-
and
but-
it's good to give them like a leaflet or something to read. You know, say, well, if you don't want to know now, have a read at this, or do you know what I mean? Have a look, so they can read it and see it, and
they might
believe it.
find it years later.
Yeah.
And that also, I think, one of the things I like, actually, the first meeting I had with Chiji, I remember saying to her, maybe it's about normalizing the conversation. When we are able to talk about those uncomfortable things, you know, like me and you, Don, we talk about literally everything. But it's like when, as men, we are able to talk about stuff, those things that are at the back of our head because we don't know if anyone resonates with that thing. Because that could be the thing that saves us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's also another barrier, you know, in all this. So, you know, I've got two sons. One, 43, he's been tested because in the background. The older one, I'm still not certain if he's been tested. He keeps saying, yes, I'm going to get checked. I'm not certain. But I've also got an older brother who's older than me, and he found it so hard to get a test. And, you know, it was
I've heard a lot
the
of
usual
that, yes.
questions of, well, why are you wanting this test? Well, my dad passed away with it. My brother's got it. Oh, that don't mean you're going to get it now, because, you know, and you know, so we have to worry about
from
the
this,
doctors.
so that
and,
from the doctor and the medical side,
sorry,
is that
GP,
something
yeah.
which you've seen as well, then, Sheila, from
Yeah,
your
yeah,
experience?
yeah. From people's testimony and conversations with people, sharing their experiences, that they've gone to the GP and said, you know, my father had prostate cancer or died from prostate cancer, so did my uncle, I'm wanting a test, and the same sort of response as early saying, you know, so why do you think you're at risk? And I don't think people understand, and I think that's where it all starts off. They don't have the understanding about the risk of prostate cancer. And it's not just for men, you know, males in the family. If you have prostate cancer and they identify the BRCA gene, the females, your daughters, who can develop breast cancer or ovarian cancer, they're at risk from those. So it's not just the males, but, you know, especially that first focus group that we had, a lot of people were very angry. Some people were saying that, you know, they went on for years, and it was when they started showing real symptoms, signs, that they actually got tested, and then they were, you know, the cancer had moved out of the prostate. And as Joanne was saying, you know, that this is why so many black men are dying, because they tend to get diagnosed later. And people don't really start feeling pain till it's at a certain stage, like at stage 3 or 4 or something like that. So this waking up at night and frequency of passing urine, and not everybody gets that. And as Earl says, as a diabetic, if you've got diabetes, you do wake up. You know.
You're going to the
If you're on
to go
medication
to the
as
toilet.
well.
So,
for high blood pressure.
No, that's true.
Because we've got so many things we're on, which we seem to be susceptible to. So
Which is why we need men that are at high risk to be well informed so that they can request the test. But we also need the guidelines that the GPs work from to be up to date.
And when you say
because
test, what is this test?
the prostate specific antigen, the
The
PSA.
PSA.
Yes.
So at the moment things are moving on quite quickly in terms of the whole sort of knowledge and understanding about prostate cancer. And at the moment GPs are a bit caught in the middle because they're still working with different guidelines that say different things. So on the one hand, you've got NICE saying, you know, men over 50, yes, black men are at a higher risk. Yes, if you've got a family history, you're at higher risk. But on the other hand, we've got the Prostate Cancer Risk Management Committee statement, which says, actually, no, it needs to be, you know, men over 50, and it sort of, it contradicts what is being said by Prostate Cancer UK, who are saying black men over 45. In all the guidance for the GPs, it's still saying 50. So GPs are a little bit caught in the middle still, and then I think it's being a bit overshadowed by this whole national debate about whether we need a national screening programme, which basically means that any man over the age of 50 would be invited. But the fear with that is that we would just end up with loads of men with low risk, older white men with low risk prostate cancer that probably would stay dormant for years and years and wouldn't necessitate any treatment. We risk them all coming forward for testing and getting treated, and the black men still staying with their head in the sand, not realising that actually, you know,
It's true,
they're the ones
GPs not actually reacting in the way they should react,
Yeah.
and supporting black men in the way in which they should do as well.
Yeah, because, I don't know how it's going to go in the next few years, but I think the more we can raise awareness for men that are at high risk, so if you've got a family history and you're of African Caribbean ethnicity, then don't wait for
education
symptoms.
for younger people as well.
Yeah.
You know, for younger people to understand and to know, because I think out there is not a great deal, unless you've experienced it in your family and you've seen it, but, you know, and you think, well, lots of people get cancer, they tell us 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. People don't actually understand the significance of it and what it means, you know. We have this high risk of prostate cancer, higher risk of higher risk of dementia.
I know you do feel a bit sort you get beat to left, right, and centre.
Everything what's going.
Everything what's going, man.
Yeah. So you know, we've got to put that, as Johanna says, more awareness, and that is what, as a group, we're trying to do.
So-
make the community more aware.
More aware. So what has been your experience? I mean, like you mentioned before that you recruited most of these guys here. What has been your experience in terms of actually being because in essence you are like the evangelist for for this
We're
cause.
their supporters,
Yeah.
aren't we? We are their supporters. Mother
Wonderful
figures.
they are.
No,
Mother
but
figures.
my question is, what keeps you doing what you're doing for you?
For me,
Yeah.
I enjoy being with the members, watching them grow, because Earl, he was a very shy person.
I know.
He was a very shy person.
It still is.
He is, but not to the extent that he was before.
Oh, okay.
He's opened up, he's blossomed, and he's able now to. We had an event in Leeds, and Earl was manning, you know, the information, and he was able to talk to people, and people were going up to. I've got all the pictures, Earl, and it's on our website as well, and everybody was so pleased with him. That one, you and Caroline there, do you remember? Yeah.
Which, Dr. Caroline Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's come out, he's grown, come out of his shell. He's able to go anywhere now and talk about prostate cancer. And he did our website.
Oh yeah, I know. He did the website.
He did our website. How's that? with his son.
It wasn't just me, it was everybody's input.
Yeah, but you actually did the work.
We've all had
Yeah.
an input, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to say?
For me, I remember really clearly the first meeting that we had in October 22,
Yeah.
and it was Noel and Robert, who's not able
Yeah,
to be here
yeah.
today. And I remember the look on your face when you were listening to Robert talk about his experience and Beresford, and saying, hang on a minute, you were diagnosed 20 years ago, and you're still
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
look all right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember the relief on your face
it
that
was
you
a
were
big
like,
relief.
oh,
I
I can
remember
live with this and
At the
still be
conference,
healthy.
at that launch at Sadake, I think it was Robert who got up and said he'd had it for 20 odd years. And I remember, I think, I was absolutely sort of like blown away
Yeah.
because it suddenly said to me that you can live with prostate
Exactly.
cancer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah.
changed my mindset
Exactly.
about it,
Yeah.
which was a bit sort of
Yeah.
like, God, if they give me the diagnosis, that's it, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because if I get it done
Yeah.
early,
Well,
then
now-
I can live with it.
Yeah.
Because when
that
I was
is-
first told that I had it, I'm thinking, my God, they'll make me will out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
thought I was going
my
to
days are my days are numbered.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my thought.
But you see, that's the beauty of the support group, the
Yeah,
support team.
exactly.
In that, I was able to, process my sort of journey through prostate cancer by having known a lot of what the others had gone through, and was able to, put that to my own experience.
Yeah.
And I think it made me a lot more at ease, definitely.
Yeah.
And, it's only because of the knowledge of all the,
Yeah.
because I listened quite
So there's an
well.
element of being sort of like armed with something, because a lot of the time when you go to your GP or to any medical person, you sort of like give up everything and you say,
that's it,
you
that's it.
know, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
nothing,
yeah, yes.
and I'm just going to sort of be this recipient. Where
That's
actually,
exactly what we did
And-
as men. I
Yes.
think that's exactly what we
Yeah,
do. We
yes.
kind of sit back and listen and say, okay then, and come out. And unless you have somebody there or you've been able to say, ask the right questions and dig into things,
Well,
you
had to
kind of
make a
just accept
decision.
things. Yeah.
Your treatment changed, and you
Yeah.
had to make a decision about
I did,
which
yeah.
road you were going to go
Yeah.
down, and you brought that to the group. You shared your news,
Yeah.
and one month it was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do here. What did you have? What did you have? Oh,
Yeah.
right. And then a month later we meet again.
yeah.
Still haven't quite made up my mind, but I've been thinking it through, and you can just see that actually the anxiety
Yeah.
was reduced,
So
and
could-
the decision was being reached.
So it's a very active
Gradually.
group. I mean, how often do you meet? How many people are involved in it? And sorry to ask this question, but what do you do then in the group?
You know, have a lot of laughs. That's
You have to have some
no, it's we do. We are serious about the subject.
Absolutely.
And trying to get more people involved. We meet once a month at the first Tuesday of the month, and we gather at SACMA
Yeah.
and have discussions there.
We have guest speakers.
We have guest speakers. We have
From
people
time to time, yeah.
come to talk with us, and we, as we've said, part of focus groups, so we provide our input into that. We also was able to help out one particular team in West Yorkshire.
Don't be the one.
Don't be the one. So we helped them in support of starting their journey.
What, sort
as a
of like a similar group?
prostate cancer
Yeah.
group, yeah. So
In Huddersfield, yeah.
So we're able to, discuss how we started up, how we got things going. I think the one thing I would say is the numbers don't increase as much as we would like, but that's probably because of, when we have our time slot, we have it during the day. I've known people who are working, I've sort of mentioned to them about, is it possible for them to come? And they say, well, the working is very difficult. We've talked about having evening sort of timescales. But, you know, we'll take it as it is. Well, I know from the website that we get a regular number of people visiting and looking at what we're doing. So,
From all over the world
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
not just UK traffic.
it's worldwide.
Yeah.
I get approached quite regularly by researchers that have seen, that have heard about the group, and they're interested in prostate cancer, but they want to speak to black men with prostate cancer, so they'll approach me as a.
And in what way does it, 'cause a couple of events I've been to, I think there's been a professor there. In what way does it sort of like influence or inform, say, the medical world?
Well, I've just submitted an application for a study that has come out of discussions from within the group about things that the members would like to see changing. So it's directly influencing my work as a research nurse, in that I've put in this proposal with members of the group as co-applicants. And also we've been approached by other charities that are setting up, that they've got a web page, there's a place called Infopool, and we've been approached by a charity in Manchester to say, we want your group to review the website and give their suggestions of how we could improve it and make it more accessible and more relevant to black men. So we've worked with them for a session. So it's giving a voice.
And I asked that question because I think it was, again, one of the events, somebody stood up and asked the question to the professor, which is, I know it's 1 in 4 and 1 in 12 die, but why are we more susceptible? And it was really into that sort of like the science of it, why is there? I might be wrong here, but I think she said there had been very little research done into it, which is back to that sort of bigger argument, which is, medical research tends to be done by these people, white people, on white people, for white people, and not for black people. And, is that...
There's a couple of big studies that are going on, over the next few years that are looking at the genetic component, and then so there will be more information coming through, but historically, if you look at all the big studies that have been carried out on prostate cancer, if you look at the ethnicity of the people taking part in the study, it's usually around 1% of the men that take part of African and Caribbean ethnicity. So none of the research that all of our current treatments are based on have been carried out on enough black men to be able to say, whether it's effective for black men, whether it's different or not. And that's what's slowly starting to, we're trying to change,
It's the importance of the team, isn't it? So we are able to be called on to be part of the focus groups. I mean, we all know, I think a lot of the background of, why we didn't like to get into research and be part of those projects, because typically it was that we were trying things out first on, on our...
absolutely.
So we were kind of, cautious against being part of that. But I think now when we know it impacts us, we have to be part of it.
I think that there has been a lot of mistrust in research, because you then never knew the outcome. They came to you to do all this research to the community, but you didn't know the outcome. People were doing PhDs and this and whatever, and they wanted information, but you didn't get the outcome and how it would benefit. As my role as a community research link worker, I do talk to people, to the community a lot, to encourage them to partake in research and be part of focus groups, that it may not help us or you as now, but it can help your children, your grandchildren, so it's really important, and tell them the narrative around the partiality between white middle class people being involved in research and not us. and people will always say that we always get the same treatment, but how do they know? And I said, because they've never tested it. So
Yeah.
this is why people need to come forward, you know, to be part of research, because in the future it will be beneficial for our community. The more information we know about genes and genetics, and how it's different for black people to white people. We have the same number of genes, but obviously there's different nuances and how things behave and things like that makes a difference. If you remember when it was COVID,
Yeah.
and a lot of black people were dying because they had comorbidity, a lot of other, you know, problems, chronic long-term illnesses and stuff, so there were more people dying. And one of the things that was highlighted, Johanna, was the
SATS probe.
yeah, you know, when you do your SATs,
Yeah.
to see what your oxygen level is, yeah, and stuff like that. And the recordings were not the same on a white person as it was on a darker skin. Because it was
designed.
never,
Yes.
yeah, it was never
Tested
tested
Yeah.
on a darker skin. But I work with haematologists, and all our patients used to have their oxygen saturation done every clinic, and he used to say, I don't know why we bother, sort of thing, because obviously he also works with white patients, and he was saying, I don't know what it actually means. So he knew that so you can't be up, standing, breathing, but your oxygen saturation saying something else. Do you know what I
He must
mean?
have picked up on that inaccuracy.
Yeah.
That it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
they say
But it was
it's like
scary when you had
3%.
one, because I bought one of those. Put my finger in there.
Well, I've got a watch that tells me that my oxygen saturation's like 99%, 98%. What does it mean? I don't know. So as long as I'm up and breathing.
Yes.
So as a group, I mean, what are the long-term goals, and what would you like to see, you know, change or happen?
First of all, we'd like to see the group expand. Yeah. Then it'll bring a lot more influential into the group, a lot more experience, and you know, a lot more information
Yeah.
from others.
I'd like to reach younger men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the importance is just getting the message out, to be honest. And if we can get more people from the community getting themselves to the GPs, wherever, to get tested, I think, you know, that I see that as a success. Because, like I said, you know, not everybody is going to be able to come to the group because of the times we have. But if we're able to pass that knowledge, that information on through other means,
Yeah. But as
website
Beresford
and so
took it to
forth.
his church,
Yeah.
so there is also that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
going out as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
I mean, you're supposed to be shy.
You're healed, man. You're healed.
I'm still very
Shy Earl.
There's nothing shy about hell.
And he always laughs everything off.
See, this is my shyness.
He always laughs. He always. There's a lot of laughter when he's a lot of laughter in it when you.
No, but I've seen you, Earl, before speak, and I remember Robert, and both times it sort of, I listened,
Yes.
because and when you hear somebody talk about something like prostate cancer there, and they're talking from their own personal testimony, and they're telling you something which is actually, it's very profound. And I remember back occasion, the launch was actually, one of the most amazing events I've ever been to in my entire life, I'd have to say.
I think
There were so many men there,
yeah.
and it was uplifting.
I think for me also, I mean, the launch, one of the, I think the most fascinating thing was, I remember actually the friendship I have with Olive was because I heard her speak there. And then I would see her at Barrow's funeral. And I remember
yeah.
saying to you guys, I mean, this was a core group. I mean, you were there and a few other people. And I remember saying to you guys, this is a conversation that needs to be had on a regular basis.
Yes,
That we need as a people to be more proactive in terms of the things that we do. Outside I would say probably outside just the organizations and the projects. I think we need more. It's more important that as a people that we have more conversations like these that are about our health, and also to be the drivers in those conversations, because I think we will always say it's like we're playing second fiddle to our own lives in a way,
Yeah.
and I think somehow it's problematic. I
When
think.
when this group was started, we had a lot of detractors when we
Yeah.
said we were starting this group. Oh, men won't talk, and you know how
Yeah.
black men stay. No, no, no. They
Yes.
won't talk about personal things.
Yes.
And the first meeting we had, everybody was talking
Mm.
to each other and telling their story, describing their journeys, and it wasn't initiated by myself or Johanna.
Mm.
It was just seemed to be a natural flow
Mm.
of people who'd got commonality, things in common, people they could talk to, whereas before they weren't able to. They might have spoke to a partner, or the partner's got the understanding that to talk to another male
Yes.
who was going through
The same thing.
the same thing as they were. And that is why we've sort of pushed on,
Yes.
and the peer support, I think, is one of the most valuable things in what Earl's saying. It has helped him through his journey, listening to people and giving him less stress and worry.
Mm.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
yeah, less stress and worry, because he can come somewhere and it's confidential,
Yes.
and we can discuss things, and he can ask and say, this is what they've said to me, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and he can talk to us on a level.
So,
Yeah.
so when can we expect to see a report? No, it won't be a book.
He always likes to finish with asking you, when's the book coming out?
When is the book coming out?
Well, the story's still in the middle, isn't it?
But we do send in a report to SACMA, because obviously we're working in partnership with SACMA
Yeah.
in their AGM.
Yes.
And we've got our website and we do update it and everything. But as Earl said, we meet in the daytime and we've got to adapt as well. Sometimes we've had online meetings,
Oh, okay.
or we've had hybrid meetings, because there's some people who haven't got smartphones, and that is the problem. Where if you haven't got, so we've been in one place. Some of us have been like at SACMA, and then the others are at home.
Yes.
So we've had to sort of do it like that. But we could have, sort of hybrid meeting, online meetings, and things like that,
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
it more.
Yeah, accessible. and
Yeah,
for people to-
accessible for other people who may be thinking about it. And the thing is, we haven't got like a telephone. That's the
Oh,
other
okay.
thing.
'Cause that's
So
what I was gonna ask.
we ask people to phone SATMA, or they could leave us a message on the website. And somebody made a call the other day, but the number that I was given, when I kept calling it, it was saying you have dialed an incorrect number.
Oh, the problem is changing.
So somewhere one of the digits, but the message was no longer there.
Okay.
So I couldn't check. And then you think, it's so disappointing
Yeah, I know.
when that happens, because then that person may never call back,
Yeah.
and they may have just wanted
Yes.
to talk to one of us, do you know what I mean, about
That's
something
it,
they
yeah.
were going through, because
Yeah.
they may not even have been from Sheffield.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? And somewhere where they can't access a group like this. So that's the sort of thing that we're wanting in our funding, you know, so that we can have, you know, even worker doing sort of telephone and
okay.
organising, doing more
Yeah.
organising of stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
We were very much getting towards the end. I've really, really enjoyed the conversation there. I've really felt as if I've learnt a lot. I felt, I feel a little bit braver.
That's great.
I have to say, a bit braver about myself and my own health. And that, for my mind, clearly is something which I've got picked up from yourself. There's three guys there in terms of your participation in the group. Me just sitting here, I feel like I can go to my GP a little bit stronger than I could have done maybe before. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to steal something from Lungani here, which is we always like to sort of conclude by asking people something about the something which just helps them manage life. You know, the stress and the worry of life there. My thing is I like walking. All right, so I'm a part of a walking group, and we walk every month. We're walking this Saturday. We're going up to Whirlow, and that's what I do. All right,
Okay.
Lungani, what's yours? And then we'll go around.
I run.
I can't
run
run.
literally
You can't
every
run,
morning.
you walk.
No, I
You
run every morning.
do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
I walk from home.
So, for real, I do.
Winterbank.
Oh, from Wickerbank
Yeah,
Winterbank to town.
to town.
Wow.
Oh, that's a
And
good
back.
walk, isn't
And
it?
he's a man of age.
There's the man.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
92.
Winterbank to town. Yes. Back.
92.
That's a good walk.
No,
That's
you
good,
walk.
that's
good.
Very
Uphill, I
smart.
know Wickerbank,
Uphill.
that's a big hill.
Uphill.
Yeah. What about yourself,
That's what
then,
keeps him going.
Sheila, what's yours?
What keeps me going?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep fit. I like me aquarobics and stretch classes.
Yeah.
Music.
Yes.
Music makes my world go round. And that is what I do.
Well, we have asked that question, what's on your turntable then? I know for the young people, they know what turntable
Oh, well,
is.
it's a mix of different genres. You know, you like Lothar Vandross and all that soul thing. Bob Marley,
Did
Barry
you see his
Harmon.
documentary?
It keeps the brain stimulated, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was
I
incredible,
watched
wasn't
that
it?
as
Yeah.
well.
And yeah, I've been to see him as well.
Yes.
And Sheila?
I've seen
Lothar.
yeah.
What about you?
Me? Oh, there's so much that I enjoy doing. I'm a crazy Sheffield Wednesday.
Fanatic.
So I have a season ticket. I have a season
But
ticket.
that's stressful,
I go
though.
with my son.
That's stressful.
But yeah, that was stressful because you guys haven't won.
Okay, okay. You see, this is what I'm going to put this to you now. Right? So 2 seasons ago,
Yes.
we were 4-0 down in a semi-final. We managed to get through.
You managed to get through.
Last season, we were about 15 points away from safety with about 10 games to go.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this moment in
We
time
managed
now?
to go through.
Can we talk about this moment in
can't
time
pay your wages.
as it
We
is?
can't, but there's always something happening. Anyway, so apart from that, we do have a gym, by the way, where we go to once a week
With the group.
with the group. Yeah, once a month.
Oh yeah, it's once a month. It's called Active in Cancer, Sheffield Wednesday. And so
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and never miss an episode. Until next time, keep those conversations going and the clippers buzzing.